Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to talk about reversals in tarot. A reversed card is when a tarot card is in the reversed position as opposed to the upright position. Now, some people don't count reversed cards, they take the meaning of the tarot card irrespective of whether it's upright or reversed, while some people like me try to see reversed cards as having a different meaning than the upright cards. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about my philosophy and why I consider reversed cards in my practice. And I'm going to explain some interpretations, some common types of reversed meanings, and I'm going to use a lot of examples. So let's get right into it. Before I get into my philosophy, I do want to give a disclaimer that spirituality and tarot are deeply personal things, and as long as you're not hurting or scamming anyone, you can do your practice in any way you want to. This is simply my philosophy and the way I like to do things. And while we do have our own way of doing things, we should always be open to other people's ways and opinions just so we can always be in an expansive state and not try to be very rigid. My philosophy with tarot is that there is meaning within chance. There are 78 tarot cards, and the probability of getting one out of those 78 cards is 0.012, which is very, very less. Now, some people can just say the card you get is complete coincidence, but the fact that the card actually depicts whatever you're asking about has to be more than coincidence. The practice behind tarot isn't simply math and probability. There is a mystical kind of, vibe to it. We are saying that just because something is by chance doesn't mean it's random, or just because something is random doesn't mean there is no meaning to it. There is a meaning behind this chance. So if the type of card we get, or rather the card we get, is meaningful to our situation, why shouldn't the position that card is in be meaningful as well? We are saying that the tiniest of detail changes everything, because that tiny detail is what is being manipulated by the universe to kind of give us an answer. So why shouldn't the position of the card be important as well? Now let's say out of the 78 cards, each card's position is a different way for that card to come out. So a card can either be that card in an upright position versus that card in a reversed position, giving us different meanings, which means that instead of 78 different probabilities, or rather 78 different possibilities, we have 156 different possibilities, which means the probability of getting that one card in that one position is 0.006, which is even lesser than the previous one, obviously math. So that means that the position of the card along with the card is random, and that randomness has a meaning. So with this mix of probability and magic and meaning, and this idea that the cards are this conscious sentient thing that is communicating with me, or the cards are a tool to communicate with the universe regardless of what you think, we have this belief that the card's position matters as well. Some cards that are more positive in an upright position can get a little negative in the reversed position, adding more nuance to the conversation, while cards that are more negative in an upright can be positive in a reversed position. And that's what we're going to talk about right now, different ways to interpret reversed cards along with examples. Number one, archetypes. We all know that a lot of cards in tarot, specifically major arcana and court cards, depict archetypes. These are types of energies that we embody. Like the emperor is a very brave, grounded, and mature person, or the high priestess is someone who's very well connected with their intuition and their subconscious. Now, when we get a card that's depicting an archetype in reverse, it could mean that we are not embodying that archetype and we should be embodying that archetype more. Or it could mean that we are embodying some of the more negative characteristics of that archetype. For example, in the Empress card, the upright position would be that this is someone who's very nurturing, while in a reversed position, it could depict that you are being too nurturing of other people and not enough of your own self. You may be giving people too much of a pass, you're not really holding people accountable, and you're kind of being a little codependent and not showing yourself that love. So when an archetype card is in reverse, it could be that you need to embody that archetype more, or that you're embodying the more negative aspect of that archetype. Number two, a literal direction shift. Sometimes cards in tarot are facing a certain direction, and when they're reversed, they're facing the opposite direction. The direction that these cards are facing can tell us a lot about these cards, and this direction shift can be a very literal thing. For example, the Page of Wands is a card that's facing forward, a card that's about looking forward to good things in our future and being optimistic, while in reverse, he is facing backwards, which could be about looking at the past too much and not having enough optimism. So, in this sense, the imagery becomes a very literal thing in a really beautiful way. The Knight of Swords is very interesting because in an upright position, it's facing backwards. And I often interpret this card as someone who is going with a lot of speed, but because of that, they may be going in the wrong direction. When this card is reversed, he's facing forward, but he does not have as much momentum, which, depending on the situation, could be a good thing, because now this person has taken this kind of step to slow down and look at where they're going, and in the process they may have slowed down, but they're going in the right direction now, which is forward. The same can be said for the Five of Pentacles, where this person or these people are struggling, but they are at least moving forward. In an upright position, it could be that they're struggling for the wrong things, that their struggle is unnecessary because they're going in the wrong direction in the first place. Another example is the Ace of Pentacles. In an upright position, this card can depict that you may be receiving help from someone or an opportunity comes your way. When the card is reversed, maybe the change in the position of the hand is denoting that instead of receiving help, you are going to be the one offering help to someone. So while in an upright position, the hand could be someone else's hand, in a reversed position, it is your hand that is offering assistance and guidance to other people, or in a more literal sense, giving other people money. A little bit like the direction shift, but instead of right and left, it's up and down. We have the Ten of Swords in reverse. Now, in an upright position, this card is about being drained. There are all these swords in his back. But they say that when the card is reversed, the swords fall down, which can symbolize slowly and very gradually healing from the things that hurt us. So in this case, a card that's generally more negative gets a little bit more positive. Just like the Ten of Swords is the Nine of Cups, where when the card is reversed, it's like his cups or his achievements or his trophies are going to fall off the table. But what does that mean? Does it mean that his achievements were for nothing, or the person feels like they were for nothing? Does it mean that in the long span of life, material achievements don't matter? Whatever it means, use your intuition and your creativity, but it is fun to think about cards as if they're right in front of you. Like if there's a table full of trophies, and if it were reversed, the trophies would fall off. Cards like the Queen of Pentacles and the Four of Pentacles in reverse can talk about loosening our grip on certain things, because these cards depict people holding on to that pentacle really tightly, and in reverse they may talk about just letting go a little bit. Same for the Hangman. What I love most about this card is that when it's upright, the person is reversed, but when the card is reversed, the person's upright. Now, the Hangman is clearly a very chilled out person. They're literally hanging from a tree upside down. And when we get this card, it can be about doing the same thing in a metaphorical way, to change our perspective of things and to be a little more mutable, because sometimes this card is associated with a little bit of Neptunian energy. And those illusory themes aside, a general meaning of this card can be to just change our perspective and to be open and to be okay with going with the flow. And that's when this person is reversed. But when the card is reversed and this person's upright, it could be that the person in question is being extremely rigid, and they are being given a chance to just go with the flow, and they need to take it. So this is one of my favorite cards when it comes to reversals, because the card is itself going opposite its position. The classic interpretation of reversed cards, that is, a card that is reversed has the opposite meaning to the upright position. For example, with the Wands cards, a card like Ace of Wands or the Eight of Wands that shows initiation and speed in reverse can talk about slowing down and things going at a very slow pace. A similar theme can be observed in the Eight of Pentacles, where in an upright position, it's talking about someone being hard at work, It's something that they care deeply about. While in a reversed position, it could be talking about someone whose work is a little unfulfilling. Or in my case, in a literal sense, when I get this card, tarot is telling me to stop working. This happens when I'm overworking, and it's a really good reminder, a really good way to tell myself that, okay, you worked enough, now stop working. Sometimes cards that show a group of people in reverse can talk about not being with other people and kind of doing something alone or figuring out something alone. I have a few cards that in a reversed position can depict some kind of resistance. A lot of ace cards, like the Ace of Cups, depict someone who has a new beginning on their hands, but in a reversed position, it could show a little bit of a resistance to start afresh. The Fool card, depicting going right into the unknown and taking a leap, in reverse can depict that you are scared to take that leap and you need to have a little more courage and trust. The Death card, often talking about a change in our lives, in reverse can depict a strong resistance to this change. Lastly, the Eight of Cups, often talking about moving on, can talk about a resistance to move on and a resistance to kind of let go of something when it is reversed. A little more negative cards like the Three of Swords or the Five of Cups, cards that sometimes depict disappointment, pain, and grief, and someone who is still kind of wallowing. However, in reverse, depending on the context, of course, they can depict someone who is ready to move on and who has felt their emotions, and someone who is ready to kind of heal themselves. On the other hand, they may depict someone who is resisting the pain instead, and if they ever want to move on, they'll have to first feel the pain. The Eight of Swords shows someone who is restricted in an upright position, while in a reversed position, it could talk about a little more movement and someone not being restricted and kind of coming out of those bounds. The Seven of Cups is an interesting card because it sort of depicts an illusion or a dream where we are being given this deceptive kind of image of all these riches and all these good things. And sometimes it may even depict paranoia because we are scared of all these imaginary things. And in a reversed position, it can talk about coming back to reality and seeing things for what they are. And in this case, a card that has a little more of a weird meaning gets better when it's reversed because it talks about those illusions and those spells being broken. Sometimes a reversed card can depict something that's a little more internal compared to something that's more external. Like the Five of Wands, which can depict a conflict with other people or a conflict in some sort of group setting. In a reversed position, this card can depict an internal conflict and having a sort of, inner turmoil. While the Two of Cups is a beautiful card that talks about amazing connections, most likely romantic, in a reversed position, it may not be what you expect. While some readers do interpret a reversed Two of Cups as some sort of argument in a connection or simply a disconnect, another way to look at the reversed card could be self-love. I have learned in my beginning years of tarot that this card in reverse can talk about giving the love you would give to someone else to yourself. And this does stem from a sort of disconnect in a personal relationship where some relationship is not the best for you, and the solution is to pour that love into yourself. The Three of Wands is another card that can depict something more internal in a reversed position, because in an upright position, the card is showing someone looking out or looking forward to the future. And in reverse, it could depict someone who's looking within or someone who's looking at the past. This example is a little more unique. I don't think I've seen many cards with this kind of imagery, but we have the Five of Swords, where two swords are on the ground, two swords are on his back, on his hand, and the ones that he's holding. And one sword is like in his hand, which could be interpreted as him keeping the sword down or picking up another sword. So the meaning of this could be that the person is either letting go of this conflict or they're going to continue to hold on and they're going to continue to fight. Now, the question is, which one is it? When a card like this is in a reversed position, we can assign a different meaning to it, and this is based from reader to reader. In your own practice, you can have a sort of personal code where if you see this card in an upright position, you can assume that this person is going to keep down the sword and they are going to let go. While in a reversed position, they're going to hold a sort of grudge and keep fighting. Or your quote can be completely the opposite thing, that in an upright position, they're going to keep fighting, whereas in a reverse position, they're going to let go. Now, whatever you decide, it's up to you. But my point is that with a card like this, the fact that we have two different possibilities, upright or reversed, offers us a sort of solution to this card or an answer to the question that the card is asking. A card that a lot of people are scared of is the Tower card, because it can depict a sudden change where, things just happen way too fast, and that is something that scares people. But in a reversed position, I think it can cause a little bit relief, because it can depict that the change is not as fast as one may expect. It's a slow change, or that the change is not an external change like, a physical change, but rather an internal shift, like a change in your perspective. This is one of those cases where the card in reverse gets very tame as compared to the upright meaning being very chaotic. So if you get this card in reverse, it's saying that the Martian sudden themes of this card get a little slower, or they get a little more internal, and it's more of an internal transformation rather than a quick change on the outside. Just like the Tower card got its own category, so do the Wheel of Fortune and the World card, the former being Jupiter's card and the latter being Saturn's card. Now, these have a lot of meanings, but a common meaning that they share is images of a cycle or a pattern. And in reverse, this could depict the resistance to end a cycle or the need to end a cycle. In an upright position, the Wheel of Fortune is seen as a very lucky card, and people may assume that in reverse, it's showing, being unlucky. But that can only be true in very, very specific situations. Like perhaps if you're specifically asking how a situation will go, or if some sort of astrological election is the best time to launch something, then the card in reverse could tell you that maybe it's not the most auspicious time and maybe things may not go as well as they should. But again, that's very specific. In a more general sense, the Wheel of Fortune does talk about cycles and patterns and how sometimes we resist to end a cycle and continue a negative pattern. Similar to the cyclic themes of the Wheel of Fortune, the World card can also show a cycle due to that oval around the person. But in a more general sense, this card talks about a sort of restriction or a limitation where something is bounding you. Now, in a reversed position, this card can talk about the foundation coming off and giving you more freedom to grow and expand. Or it could talk about a need for foundation. Maybe this card is telling you that you are doing too much and you need to restrict yourself more. Those were some ways that I interpret reversed cards. I really hope you gained something from this video and that this video proved to be helpful in some way. I had a lot of fun making it, having all my cards spread out on my bed and trying to kind of categorize the meanings. It was very mercurial and very fun. I really hope you liked it, and if you did, subscribe for more content about tarot and astrology and spirituality in general, which includes discussions like this and even readings and horoscopes. And please like this video if you would like to see more content like this.